Hello and welcome to the News and Observer's Bracket Selection Show, our phony look at what might have happened. I'm sports virtually conducted. The champion, NC State, with a 76-73 win over Virginia. Tony Bennett resigning immediately after the game after giving up 76 points to NC State. Markel Johnson named most outstanding player of the ACC tournament in Greensboro after setting an ACC record with 32 assists in the Wolfpack's 4 wins. NC State's first ACC tournament championship, first ACC championship since 1987. I'm joined by Jonas Pope, the pride of Elizabeth City, and Joe Giglio, notable technician alum. Joe, your reaction to NC State winning the ACC tournament?
Only in this coronavirus universe is it possible for the Wolfpack to come up with their first championship since 1987.
Back-to-back weekends for championships.
That's right. The women actually did win.
Right.
We can't slight that.
Okay, we're ready. It's time to get out your bracket sheets and sharpen your pencils. It's time for the live announcement of the 2020 seedings and pairings. Our experts will review the field once it's set, and after that we'll talk live with Patrick Stevens, the chair of the selection committee, live from Glen Burnie, Maryland. First, let's review some basics. There are 68 available tournament bids. 32 go automatically to conference champions, leaving 36 at-large bids. The 4 lowest-ranked automatic qualifiers and 4 lowest-ranked at-large selections go directly to Dayton, Ohio for the first 4. The winners advancing to Thursday and Friday action as the field is narrowed to 64 teams. In addition, the committee always makes an effort to keep as many teams as close as possible to home for the first and second rounds. As usual, the committee has ranked the 4 number 1 seeds, where if they make it to the final 4, the number 1 overall seed would play the 4th number 1 in one national semifinal and the other 2 teams in the other. With that in mind, let's look at the number 1 seeds. In the Midwest, the number 1 overall seed, the Kansas Jayhawks. Number 1 seed for the 9th time in 14 seasons under coach Bill Self, the Big 12 regular season champions. They're looking to win their first national championship since 2008. In the second number 1 seed is the Baylor Bears out of the Big 12, they're number 1 in the South, started the season 24-1, won school record 15 games in Big 12 play, the first number 1 seed in program history for Baylor. The West, the number 1 seed is the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Mark Few's team won the West Coast Conference regular season and tournament titles, number 1 seed for the 3rd time in 4 years and 4th time in school history. And finally, the 4th number 1 in the East, the Dayton Flyers, the first ever number 1 seed for Dayton, the Atlantic 10 regular season champions. That's how the regions shape up based on the number 1 seeds. The winner of the Midwest region in Indianapolis will meet the winner of the East region in New York in one semi, and the other is the winner of the South in Houston against the winner of the West in Los Angeles. Joe and Jonas, your thoughts on our 4 number 1 seeds?
Not surprised at all, Luke, because really at this point when we don't have our other fake data to know who won the conference championships, I think you got to go with chalk. Gonzaga number 1 in the net. Maybe San Diego State had a minor case, but I don't think they had enough outside their conference.
I agree. I mean, in this year with so many different number 1s throughout the year, they got it right with this 4 as a 1. We can go ahead and throw this 4 against the wall and start here with these 4 champions. I mean, these 4 top seeds.
All right, we're ready to begin revealing the seedings and the pairings. Get your brackets ready. Here are the brackets from the NCAA. These games to be played in Omaha, Nebraska on Friday and Saturday. We begin with the number 1 seed, the Kansas Jayhawks, looking to make the Final 4 for the 2nd time in the last 3 seasons. They'll take on the number 16 seed, the winner of an opening round game between Robert Morris and Siena to be played Wednesday in Dayton, Ohio. Robert Morris, winners of the Northeast Conference Tournament, return to the field of 68 for the first time since 2015. The number 8 seed, the Cougars of Houston. 3 consecutive tournament appearances for Kelvin Sampson and the Cougars, first time since the days of Phi Slamma Jamma. They will meet out of the Big Ten, the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. Coach Steve Feichel's team, 18-1 at home. Now, games in Tampa, Florida on Thursday and Saturday. The number 5 seed Louisville Cardinals, finished in a share of 2nd place in the ACC, will meet the number 12 seed. The winner of Tuesday's game in Dayton, Ohio, between Richmond and Texas. The Spiders slip into the field after winning 9 of their last 10 and their first NCAA trip since 2011. Texas also used a late surge, 3rd NCAA appearance in 5 years under Shaka Smart. Now the number 4 seed, the Wildcats of Kentucky. The SEC regular champs have won it 8 times, most recently in 2012, and they will meet the Catamounts of Vermont, the number 13 seed. The American East champions for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. Now games in St. Louis on Thursday and Saturday. The number 3 seed Creighton Blue Jays, 11-2 since January 18, and one of 3 teams to tie for the Big East regular season title. They will meet the number 14 seeded Mean Green of North Texas, their 4th ever tournament appearance. The number 6 seed will be the Cougars of Brigham Young, 24-8 on the year, 9 straight wins before a loss in the WCC semis. And who will they play? The 2nd team out of the American Athletic, the Cincinnati Bearcats. 10th consecutive NCAA trip for the Bearcats. Now, Friday, Sunday games in Cleveland, Ohio. The number 2 seed, Michigan State Spartans. The preseason number 1 ranked team in the country, led by the veteran inside-outside combination of point guard Cassius Winston and forward Xavier Tillman. The Spartans have won it all twice, most recently in 2000, and they will play the Eagles of Eastern Washington, famously known for their red football field. Number 15 seed won the outright Big Sky regular season title. The number 7 seed will be the Arizona Wildcats, coached by Sean Miller, and they will play the number 10 seeded Indiana Hoosiers, led by Archie Miller. So that's the Midwest region bracket, and guys, let's take a look from top to bottom and see what you think. Jonas?
Obviously, start with the top with Kansas. North Carolina based point guards going out to Kansas, you can never go wrong. But they've dominated their conference. They've earned the right. I see Kansas going all the way through that region with no issues, Joe.
Well, we're definitely a winner because the Miller brothers meet each other, and that means one of them has to lose. And if you like offense, which I think most people do, that second round potential matchup between BYU and Creighton would give you 2 top 10 Ken Palm offenses. I like BYU to come out of that region.
Also worth looking at is the potential second round matchup of Louisville and Kentucky. The rivals potentially make Indiana second.
The second best rivalry in college basketball.
Oh, obviously, yes.
All right, let's move on. Next up is the East region. These games to be played Friday and Sunday in Cleveland, Ohio. The number 1 seed in this region is the Dayton Flyers. They won the Atlantic 10 regular season championship and went 29-2 behind National Player of the Year candidate Obi Toppin. They'll face the number 16 seed Northern Kentucky, winners of the Horizon League tournament for the 3rd time in the last 4 years. Number 8 seed Florida, the 2-time national champs, will meet Colorado, the 9 seed, led by Tyler Bay, the Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. Sacramento, where you at on Friday and Sunday? The number 5 seeded Mountaineers of West Virginia upset Baylor in the regular season final. They will play the Bulldogs of Yale, the first conference to cancel their tournament, the number 12 seed, regular season champions of the Ivy League the way it should be. That should be the team that goes to the tournament from the Ivy League. The number 4 seed, Butler Bulldogs, closed out the regular season on a 3-game winning streak. They play the number 13 seeded Aggies of New Mexico State, in for the 4th year in a row and the 8th time in 9 years. Now, Friday and Sunday in Greensboro, North Carolina, the number 3 seeded Maryland Terrapins go back to ACC country. They'll meet the Bison of North Dakota State, the Summit League regular season and tournament champions. Played Duke last year in their NCAA tournament appearance. The number 6 seed, the reigning national champions, the Virginia Cavaliers, once again own one of the nation's stingiest defenses outside of our simulation of the ACC tournament. They will play the winner of an opening round game in Dayton on Wednesday, where Mississippi State will meet the Red Raiders of Texas Tech, last year's national runner-up. The winner will be a number 11 seed in the East. In Sacramento, Friday and Sunday, the Mountain West regular season champion and the number 2 seed, the San Diego State Aztecs. They'll face the number 15 seed out of the Big West, the Anteaters of UC Irvine, famous for their Anteater Destiny t-shirts. That year Adidas did those. And closing out the East, the number 7 seed St. Mary's. They're the 2nd team out of the West Coast Conference, and will meet Steve Forbes and the East Tennessee State Buccaneers, only the 4th team in Southern Conference history to win 30 games in a season. Let's take a look at this region, fellas. What do you think?
How do you think fans in Greensboro, ACC country, react to Maryland returning to the South?
Well, I can't give it away, but there might be a team there who they're going to be anxious to root against. So I really like Maryland this year. I love their guards. Mark Turgeon's the big question. He's got to win more in March. We got to see what he can do with arguably his best team with a number 3 seed, and they did really well in the Big Ten this year.
Not to steal a catchphrase from another talking head, but not so fast, Joe. That's
your upset?
That's my upset. It's my first round upset, North Dakota State over Maryland. I saw North Dakota State in person last year. They shoot the ball very well. They got a lot of guys who got tournament experience in Dayton. And of course, the entire Coliseum will be booming Maryland every time they touch the ball, so that's my upset in that round.
Dolores in HR is going to pick Irvine under the nickname rule because they are the Anteaters. The upset special here, though, is New Mexico State, Chris Jans. They've been too many times in a row not to pick one up. I like them to knock off Butler. I'm not impressed with Butler. I haven't been all year.
Also, Dayton's number 1. They're playing Northern Kentucky. They're playing in Cleveland. They're playing in Ohio. We're not that far from Northern Kentucky's campus. That'll be a good game. Dayton, this is unfamiliar territory to them. Northern Kentucky coming in with no pressure. That'll be a fun game to watch in round 1.
All right, normally we'd pause to hear from our corporate champions, but our only corporate champion is McClatchy Nuco, so let's move along. Welcome back as we continue to reveal the brackets. Next, we run down the South. These games to be played Thursday and Saturday in St. Louis. The Baylor Bears will be coming to town. Top seed in the South, the 4th team out of the Big 12, will face the winner of Tuesday's game between North Carolina Central and Prairie View A&M. Eagles making their 4th consecutive tournament appearance under Coach Lavelle Moten. The Panthers of Prairie View won the SWAC for the 2nd consecutive year. The number 8 seed, the North Carolina State Wolfpack, coming off a huge ACC tournament run. The 2-time national champions in 74 and 83 beat Duke, Florida State, Virginia, and Pitt en route to their first ACC tournament title since 1987. They will meet Ed Cooley and the Friars of Providence, the 3rd Big East team in. The number 9 seed closed the season on a 6-game winning streak. Now, these games, Omaha, Nebraska, Friday and Saturday, starting with the number 5 seed Auburn Tigers. Bruce Pearl's team was a number 5 seed last season and went on to earn its first Final Four appearance. They'll meet out of the Southland Conference, the Lumberjacks of Stephen F. Austin. 28-3 in the regular season. They won at Duke back in November, and they roll into the tournament on a 15-game winning streak. Also in Omaha, number 4 seed Wisconsin shared the Big Ten regular season title with 2 other teams. And who do they get? The Zips of Akron, winners of the Mid-American Conference. First appearance since 2013, the Zips. Now, games to be played Thursday and Saturday in Albany, New York. Number 3 seeded Seton Hall Pirates, one of 3 teams to share the Big East regular season title, with Miles Powell, one of the top scorers in the country. They'll face a regional matchup, the Pride of Hofstra, the number 14 seeds and champions of the Colonial Athletics Association in both the regular season and conference tournament. First tournament trip since 2001 for the Pride. Also in Albany, number 6 seed Penn State, the Nittany Lions, the 6th team out of the Big Ten, into the tournament for the first time since 2011, and they will meet the Aggies of Utah State, the number 11 seed, and the 2nd team out of the Mountain West. Sam Merrill has led Utah State to 9 wins in its last 10 games. Remember that name. Moving along, Tampa, Florida. These games to be played Thursday and Saturday. The number 7 seed, Michigan Wolverines, in their first season under alum Juwan Howard, famously of the Fab Five, awaiting them. The number 10 seed, the Trojans of Southern California, the 3rd team out of the Pac-12. Now, the ACC regular season champions, the ageless Leonard Hamilton, has led the Seminoles to their highest seed ever, and Florida State will stay close to home to start the tournament. The number 2 seed in the South, Florida State. In their first game, they'll face, out of the Big South, the Winthrop Eagles of Rock Hill, South Carolina, 11th NCAA tournament, first since 2017 under Pat Kelsey. Gentlemen, looking at this region, what do we think?
You can go first this time. I have a bit of a soapbox I want to get on.
Now, listen, if this is really 2011 and a hot team is going to win the tournament, a la UConn and Kemba Walker, you have 2 prime candidates here. Miles Powell, Seton Hall, Alpha Diallo at Providence. That's a really tough draw. It reminds me of Kevin Keats' first appearance with the Wolfpack in the NCAA tournament. They lost to Seton Hall. That's a tough matchup. That's a tough draw.
Okay, so my thoughts on this bracket. I said this a couple years ago. You had the not Sweet 16. You had the first 4, NCCU and Prairie View.
That's right.
You have 2 as the HBCU alone in this group. You have 2 HBCU teams in the field, and they play each other. I know the conferences aren't as strong as others, but there's a saying from a podcast I listen to when it comes to this sort of thing. There can only be one, so I guess you just make them play each other in the first round, and one of them the other. But I just hate to see that. And we all hate to see that all across the HBCU land. So, NCCU, I got them winning. They would win their first one in their previous 4 trips to the first 4. I had Baylor winning. I would love to see it in an ideal world to see Moten and Keats meet in the second round, 2 of the best dressed coaches in college basketball. Since this is a fantasy world, I'm going to change my bracket right here. I'm going to say NCCU knocks off Baylor.
Who can tell you you're wrong?
NC State. You got Keats, Moten, the best shoe game, the best suits in the triangle playing each other in St. Louis.
You know, the one suggestion I would make, because normally I'm a columnist and not a host is that in the years when the MEAC and the SWAC are forced to play each other, which I agree to you is not good, they should chop the pot like in poker. Just split up that one tournament. It guarantees them an extra tournament share. So there is revenue there. Chop the pot, split it up. It's good for everybody. There's one region left, and it is the West. Let's get it done. These games will be played in Spokane, Washington on Thursday and Saturday. The number 1 seeded Gonzaga Bulldogs, the 3rd team out of the West Coast Conference. Short drive across town to the Spokane Arena. Making a much longer trip to face them is Boston University out of the Patriot League. 16th seeded Terriers defeated Colgate in the conference title game, and they're making their 8th all-time NCAA tournament appearance, first since 2011. The number 8 seed is the LSU Tigers, the 5th team out of the SEC. Back-to-back tournament appearances for the first time since 05 and 06 will meet the number 9 seed, the Golden Eagles of Marquette, who won their only national championship in Atlanta, the same host city of this year's Final Four. Marcus Howard, the nation's leading scorer at 27.8 points per game. These games also in Spokane on Thursday and Saturday feature the number 5 seed, Ohio State. The Buckeyes have won 9 of their last 12 to revive their season. Now a team that owns victories over Villanova, Maryland, and Kentucky, awaiting Ohio State. The number 12 seed, the Flames of Liberty, champions of the Atlantic Sun for the 2nd consecutive season. 30-4 heading into the postseason, won a game last year. Also in Spokane, the number 4 seeded Oregon Ducks, the Pac-12 regular season champions who won the very first NCAA tournament back in 1939. It's a very nicely written book about that I highly recommend. Pac-12 Player of the Year Peyton Pritchard is a catalyst for the Ducks, won 6 of their last 7. Oregon will face the Ohio Valley Conference champions, the number 13 seed Belmont Bruins. Back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances for the Bruins, in the field for the 9th time in 15 seasons, although not with Rick Byrd as their coach. Now to the bottom half of the West, these games to be played Friday and Sunday in Greensboro. The Duke Blue Devils, the 5th team out of the ACC, is the number 3 seed. Mike Krzyzewski, the winningest coach in NCAA tournament history. Duke will face the 14th seeded Braves of Bradley. Braves are making back-to-back NCAA tournament appearances for the first time since 1954 and 55. Winners of Arch Madness, Missouri Valley Conference. The number 6 seed in the West, Illinois, back in the tournament for the first time since 2013 on my inaugural initial top 25 preseason ballot this year. Illinois, just make a note. Illini led by sophomore wing Aya DeSunmu, first team All Big Ten selection. Awaiting the Illini, the number 11 seed Arizona State, the 5th team out of the Pac-12. And finally, off to Albany, New York, with games to be played on Thursday and Saturday. The number 7 seed is Iowa, the 10th team out of the Big Ten. The Hawkeyes, led by Big Ten Player of the Year Luka Garza, will meet the number 10 seed and 6th team out of the Big 12, the Oklahoma Sooners. And finally, the number 2 seed, the Villanova Wildcats, the 6th team out of the Big East, 3-time NCAA tournament champions. Jay Wright, one of 3 teams to share the Big East regular season title. Villanova will face the Trojans of Little Rock, the number 15 seed, and the Sun Belt regular season champions. 6th tournament appearance, first since 2016. Well, fellas, we have our bracket. Let's talk first about the West. Jonas, what jumps out at you at this Western bracket?
Well, Luke, a lot of guys will get in this position, get on TV and act like they're experts on this stuff. I'm not gonna be that guy. Not a lot that jumps out at me. I've been covering a lot of high school sports. I haven't seen a lot of these teams play.
Thanks, Chuck.
I'm definitely familiar with Duke, so I picked Duke to win this bracket, and yeah, that's all I have.
Well, we now have Luka Garza, he was the best player in the best conference this year for Iowa in this region. We have Jay Wright, who has now become the best coach in this tournament in the last 4 or 5 years. So those are 2 good things. I think Bradley, I like downtown Darryl Brown to play the role of C.J. McCollum and reprise that upset at the Greensboro Coliseum by Lehigh. I think Duke's going home, and I think the Maryland fans are going to love every second of it.
The Maryland fans will be gone because they got upset by nothing. So.
All right, we have the 64 teams now, 68 teams now. Let's take a quick moment and talk about our final 4 picks and our upset specials before we bring in committee chairman Patrick Stevens. We don't have to do that if we don't want to. All right. No, that's all right. We're good. I'll give mine. I've got Kansas, Florida State, Butler, and Iowa. My upset pick is Stephen F. Austin over Auburn. I guess you guys maybe will come back to it in a little bit. Let's get to the first 4 out and next 4 out. These will be the number 1 seeds in the NIT. Xavier, Arkansas, Wichita State, and Stanford. The next 4 out, UCLA, Iowa, Purdue, and Oklahoma State. Those were your 8 teams in positions 69 through 76. If you guys have anything to add here, otherwise we'll turn to Patrick.
Yeah, get to him because Arkansas is mad at him right now.
All right. Well, let's bring in now officially Patrick Stevens, live from Glen Burnie, Maryland, Washington Post bracketologist, chairman of our committee with his cats Thelma and Louise. It's been a busy week for you, Patrick. I know you've been cooped up and processing these numbers. The first question that I have, and then I'm going to turn it over to our analysts. First of all, thank you for joining us. My question is, you have both Sacramento pods in the East. You're going to make 4 teams fly across country to play in New York. You've got Nova in the West, San Diego State in the East. How is this regionally congruent?
Well, first of all, the committee's task is to make sure that the 4 teams on the number 1 line are supposed to be basically placed geographically as best as possible. Kansas placed in the Midwest in Indianapolis. Baylor in the South was the second number 1 seed in Houston. Then Gonzaga out west, which left Dayton in the East. I think it should be pointed out that you've only got 2 of those teams coming from Sacramento coming back east. In the end, if you're San Diego State, you do at least have the opportunity to spend the first weekend of the tournament relatively close to home in state, even if it is a big state. So committee sometimes is forced just to deal with the hand that it's dealt. And with Butler, the weakest of the number 4 seeds was the team that was basically sent to the last remaining available spot, which was the pod in Sacramento.
Joe. Patrick, it looks like in the East you have Dayton there. I agree with Jonas. Northern Kentucky might be one of those feisty UMBC types. Just give us a rundown there. Did you have the East as the 4th seed? Is that what you had? Dayton as the 4th number 1?
Had Dayton as the 4th number 1 and San Diego State as the strongest of the number 2 seeds, which explains why those 2 teams were placed in the bracket where they were.
And did the committee just ignore strength of schedule this year? Let's get back to Arkansas. 12 non-conference strength of schedule, 4 Q1 wins. How did they get in over Richmond? Or how did Richmond get in over them?
Well, Richmond was a team that went 3-4 in quadrant 1 games. Very impressive. Had a victory over a team that shared the Big Ten regular season title on a neutral floor. Also a team that was 9-3 on the road this season. That really stood out to the committee. Arkansas combined record against quadrant 1 and quadrant 2 teams was 6-12. When you look at them compared to some of the teams at the edge of the field, they were swept by Mississippi State. Just simply not quite as much on their overall profile relative to other teams that got in.
And did the committee consider that the Miller brothers could get into a fist fight to end that game, and they may have to forfeit that one? Neither team could advance.
The committee does not take into account potential matchups while bracketing and seeding the field.
Hey, Patrick, I have a question. Going back to the Dayton first 4 matchup, NCCU and Prairie View, we know that their conferences are so low. Is there anything these 2 teams could do, or any teams coming from these conferences in the future, and avoid that first 4?
It's hard to project what would happen in future seasons. Obviously, there are strength of schedule issues, and I'm sympathetic to the things that schools in those conferences face. Certainly heard your comment a little earlier about whether you want to pair them together or just not, or have them separate. I think the committee felt after years and years of having sort of an unofficial rule of only having one of those teams sent to Dayton a few years back, things kind of switched where it was clear that those were 2 of the 4 weaker teams in the field in that particular season. Your choice, I think, is either to have them play separate games and risk having none of them make it through to the round of 64, or have them both play and guarantee one. I don't think either is a particularly great option, but I think the guarantee of having one is a better option than the risk of having none.
Patrick, thank you very much for your time. As always, we look forward to catching up with you in Atlanta, April 4th and 6th, as we begin the road to the Final Four. And then after that on CBS, the Masters. Thank you, everyone. We will see you next in 2 days in Dayton for the beginning of the first 4.